3 pounds on steel. Then a child's scream shattered the Detroit night.
Please, they beat my mama. The men with snake tattoos took her.
Marcus Reaper Stone's whiskey glass hit the floor as every Hell's Angel in that clubhouse spun toward the door. Nothing, not rival gangs, not cops, not death itself, had ever made these men freeze like this. A 7-year-old black girl stood in the rain, blood mixing with tears on her face, clutching a torn purple jacket.
My name's Zara Williams, she gasped, and they're coming to kill me next. Right now.
Before we dive into this incredible true story, hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the very end. You won't believe where this goes. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from, so I can see how far Zara's story travels. Now let me take you back to that stormy Detroit night. Marcus Stone hadn't believed in God for 37 years. Not since the night his own mother's screams went unanswered in a Chicago tenement. But when he opened that clubhouse door and saw Zara Williams standing in the rain, soaked to her bones and shaking, something inside his chest cracked open.
I said they beat my mama.
Zara's voice came out stronger now, despite the tears streaming down her face.
Aren't you going to help me?
Behind Reaper, the clubhouse had gone dead silent. 23 Hell's Angels. Men who'd seen knife fights, shootouts, and things that would make normal people lose sleep for years, stood frozen. Jesus Christ, Reaper! Diego Hammer Rodriguez's voice cracked from his spot near the pool table. His tattooed hands gripped his beer bottle so tight the glass threatened to shatter.
What the hell do we do with a kid?
Reaper knelt down slowly, his 6'3" frame folding until he was eye level with Zara. Up close, he could see the purple bruise blooming across her left cheek. The way her small hands trembled as she clutched that torn purple jacket like it was the only thing keeping her alive. What's your name, sweetheart?
Zara Williams.
She wiped her nose with the back of her hand.
I'm 7 years old, and I live on Gratiot Avenue with my mama, Keisha.
She's a nurse at Detroit Memorial, and she works night shifts. And she makes me pancakes on Sundays with extra syrup, even though she says it's too much sugar. The words tumbled out in a rush, like she was afraid if she stopped talking, he'd shut the door in her face. Okay, Zara, that's a pretty name. Reaper's voice, usually harsh with authority, softened. Can you tell me what happened to your mama? Zara's bottom lip quivered.
We were walking to Miss Rose's house because Mama said it wasn't safe at home anymore. She said the bad men were watching us, and then... Her voice broke. And then they came. 3 of them. They had snake tattoos on their arms, all twisted and scary. And one man, the one with gold teeth that sparkled when he smiled. But it wasn't a nice smile, mister. It was the kind of smile that makes your tummy hurt. Samuel Ghost Chen materialized from the shadows near the bar. Did they say anything, Zara? The men with the snake tattoos?
Zara nodded hard.
The gold teeth man, he grabbed Mama by her hair and said, "You saw something you weren't supposed to see, Pera." That's a bad word in Spanish. I know because my friend Maria told me. He said if Mama told anybody about what she saw, they'd hurt us both real bad. They'd make us disappear like we never existed.
Reaper exchanged a glance with Ghost. Viper Syndicate. Had to be.
Where did they take your mama?
I don't know. Fresh tears spilled down Zara's cheeks. They put her in a black car with tinted windows. The license plate had the numbers 347 in it. I tried to remember all of it, but I was so scared, and Mama was screaming for me to run, to hide, to find help. You did good, baby girl. A woman's voice came from behind the crowd. Angela Raven Brooks pushed through the wall of leather and muscle, her long dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She knelt beside Reaper. You were so brave to come here. Mama said if anything bad ever happened, I should find the biggest, scariest-looking men I could and ask for help. Zara looked up at Reaper with heartbreaking trust. "You look really scary, mister. So I thought maybe you could help." A strangled sound came from Hammer's direction. When Reaper glanced back, his enforcer was wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand. "Christ, she's killing me here." Reaper stood up and turned to face his brothers. "Everyone out except Ghost, Hammer, and Doc. Now!" The clubhouse emptied quickly. Raymond Doc Foster, their 62-year-old medic whose hands shook from too much bourbon but steadied when lives depended on it, approached with his worn medical bag. "Let me look at you, sweetheart." Doc's gravelly voice turned surprisingly gentle. "I'm a doctor. Well, I used to be. I help people feel better." Zara pressed closer to Reaper. "Will it hurt?" "Not even a little bit. I just want to make sure you're not hurt anywhere else." As Doc examined Zara, his expression grew darker. The bruise on her cheek was fresh, maybe 6 hours old. But there were older marks, too. Finger-shaped bruises on her upper arms in various stages of healing. Yellow-green ones that were 2 weeks old. Purple ones from just days ago. A partially healed cut on her lip. Small scratches on her palms that looked like defensive wounds. "Reaper," Doc's voice dropped low. "Come here." Reaper stepped closer while Raven distracted Zara with questions about her favorite foods. "This isn't the first time someone hurt this child." Doc pointed to the pattern of bruising on Zara's arms. "See how these are at different stages of healing? Someone's been grabbing this girl repeatedly, hard enough to leave marks. And these scratches on her palms, classic defensive wounds. She's been trying to protect herself." Doc pulled back Zara's sleeve slightly, revealing a small hospital bracelet, yellowed with age. "This is from Detroit Memorial, 3 weeks old. Treatment code indicates she was seen in the emergency department for multiple contusions and potential abuse." Rage, white-hot and pure, flooded through Reaper's veins. "Zara." He crouched down again, his voice carefully controlled. "The men who took your mama, had you seen them before?" She nodded miserably. "They came to our apartment 3 weeks ago. That's when Mama took me to the hospital because my arm hurt so bad where Gold Teeth Man grabbed me. Mama was crying after we got home. She had a bruise on her face, and she told me she was sorry, that she should have protected me better. But how could she protect me when they're so big and scary?" "What did they want 3 weeks ago?" "Mama saw something at the hospital parking lot. She was getting off her shift, and she saw these men in suits making another man kneel down by a car. And then one of the men, he had a gun, and he—" Zara's voice dropped to a whisper. "He shot the man in the head. Mama said she shouldn't have been there. She said she should have just walked away. But she didn't, and they saw her." Ghost pulled out his phone and started typing rapidly. "Reaper, 3 weeks ago. That's when Detective Raymond Hayes went missing, Narcotics Division. Word on the street was he was working undercover. Word on the street was wrong." Reaper's jaw clenched. "He was working with the Vipers, and Keisha Williams saw them execute him." Raven wrapped a blanket around Zara's shoulders. "Baby, have the bad men come back since that first time?" "Twice." Zara's voice went mechanical, like she was reciting something she'd memorized. "The second time, they brought pictures. Pictures of me, at school, at the playground, walking home. Gold Teeth Man said they knew everywhere I went. He said Mama better keep her mouth shut, or I'd have an accident. That's what he called it, an accident. Like falling down the stairs, or getting hit by a car, or just disappearing." Doc's hands were shaking again, but this time it had nothing to do with alcohol withdrawal. "Sweet Jesus, this child has been living in terror for 3 weeks. "The third time was 2 days ago," Zara continued in that same flat voice. "Gold Teeth Man told Mama she had until tonight to decide. Either she could be smart and forget what she saw, or she could be stupid and join the dead policeman. They gave her a deadline. Hammer's voice was tight with controlled fury. And she ran. Reaper put the pieces together. She tried to get you somewhere safe, but they were watching. They grabbed her, and you ran here. Zara nodded. Mama always said Hell's Angels were dangerous men.
But she also said, sometimes dangerous men protect people when the police can't, or won't. Her dark eyes met Reaper's. Will you help me get my mama back, please? I don't have anybody else. Reaper felt something shift inside his chest. He'd spent 3 decades running from his past, from the memory of his own mother's murder. He was 8 years old that night. 8 years old, hiding in a closet, watching through the slats as his stepfather's fist connected with his mother's jaw. The sound it made, that wet crack, he could still hear it in his nightmares. He'd run to a neighbor's house, screaming for help. But by the time the police arrived, his mother was already gone. The social worker who'd come for him had cold hands. He remembered that. Cold hands and a voice that said, "You'll be fine, Marcus. Children are resilient." But he hadn't been fine. The foster homes that followed had taught him that the world was divided into predators and prey, and he'd decided early which one he'd be. Yeah, sweetheart. His voice came out rough with emotion he hadn't felt in years. We're going to get your mama back. You promise? Marcus Stone had made few promises in his violent life, and he'd kept even fewer. But looking into this child's face, he felt something he thought had died long ago flicker to life. I promise. Zara threw her arms around his neck and sobbed. Huge, heaving cries that shook her small frame. Reaper held her awkwardly at first. He wasn't used to comforting children. But then his arms tightened protectively. Over her head, he caught Raven's eyes. She was crying too, silently, tears streaming down her face. I need intel. Reaper looked at Ghost. Everything on the Viper Syndicate in Detroit. Leadership, locations, operations. I want to know where they take witnesses and how many men they've got. On it. Ghost already had his laptop out. Hammer, call Tommy Steele from the Iron Wolves. Tell him I need to talk about cartel activity in Oakland. They had problems with the Vipers 6 months ago. What are you thinking, Reaper? Hammer asked. I'm thinking this little girl just declared war on the Viper Syndicate. And I'm thinking we're going to finish what they started. Raven stood up. This isn't like our usual fights, Marcus. The Vipers aren't local dealers we can intimidate. They've got resources, military weapons, connections in law enforcement. Going after them means risking everything. The club, our lives, everything we've built. I know. And you're doing it anyway. I'm doing it anyway. Raven studied his face for a long moment, then nodded. Then I'm getting supplies. This child needs clean clothes, food, and somewhere safe to sleep while we plan. Doc finished his examination. She's dehydrated and exhausted. Probably hasn't eaten properly in days, but nothing that won't heal physically. The psychological trauma is what worries me. This child has been terrorized for weeks. Her fight or flight response is stuck in overdrive. See how she startles at every sound? How she positions herself with her back to the wall? These are trauma responses. Can you give her something to help her sleep? I can give her warm milk and a safe place to rest. Sleep will come when she feels secure. Doc looked at Reaper seriously. You understand what you're taking on? The Vipers won't stop until they eliminate every witness. That includes this child. Then they're going to have to go through me first. Ghost looked up from his laptop. Reaper, you need to see this. The screen showed a Detroit Police Department missing persons report. Keisha Williams, age 29, nurse at Detroit Memorial Hospital. Supported missing by her neighbor Rosa Martinez 2 hours ago when Zara showed up at the woman's door asking for help before running away. Neighbor called the cops? Reaper asked.
Yeah, but look at the responding officer. Ghost pointed to a name. Officer Carlos Vega. He's on the Viper payroll. I've got surveillance photos of him meeting with their people. So now the cartel knows exactly what happened. They know Zara went to a neighbor, and they know that neighbor called the police.
Which means they'll be questioning that neighbor. Hammer's voice was grim. Finding out where Zara went next.
Rosa doesn't know about us. Zara's small voice cut through their conversation. I didn't tell her where I was going. I just said I needed to find help. But she's going to be so worried about me.
We'll make sure Miss Rosa knows you're safe, Raven assured her.
As if summoned by their words, Reaper's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered without speaking.
A heavily accented voice came through, smooth as poisoned honey.
Good evening, Senor Stone. I believe you have something that belongs to me. Reaper's jaw clenched. I don't know what you're talking about. Please, let us not insult each other with lies. The child came to your clubhouse. Your, what do you call it? Your sanctuary for lost souls? A soft laugh. Poetic, really. A lamb seeking protection from wolves. Who is this? My name is Mateo Cruz, though in our organization, I am known as El Dorado. Perhaps the child mentioned me? She has such remarkable memory for details. Those drawings she makes, very impressive for such a young girl. Reaper's blood ran cold. Cruz knew about the drawings, which meant he'd been in Keisha's apartment, going through their things. What do you want, Cruz? The same thing you want, Senor Stone. A peaceful resolution. Return the child to us, and we will forget this unfortunate evening ever happened. You can go back to your motorcycles and your whiskey, and we can go back to our business. Everyone lives, everyone is happy. And Keisha Williams? The nurse? Cruz's voice hardened. She made her choice when she witnessed something she should not have. But the child is innocent. There is no reason for her to suffer her mother's mistakes. We are not monsters, Senor Stone. We do not harm children unnecessarily. You've been terrorizing that kid for 3 weeks. You broke her arm. You threatened to kill her. What does that make you? Practical. And I am going to be practical now, Senor Stone. You have 1 hour to return the child. After that, I will assume you have chosen to protect her, and I will respond accordingly. Is that a threat? It is a promise. You see, I have 30 men in Detroit. I can have 50 more from Chicago by morning. How many Hell's Angels do you have? 20? 25? The mathematics are not in your favor. Numbers don't mean shit when you're fighting on my territory. Cruz laughed, genuinely amused. Ah, yes, the fearsome Marcus Stone. The Marine who came home from Afghanistan and traded his uniform for leather. Did you think we did not research you? I know about your mother, Senor Stone. I know Angela Stone was beaten to death by your stepfather in June of 1989. I know you were 8 years old. I know you hid in a closet and watched it happen. I know you spent the next 10 years bouncing between 7 different foster homes and 3 juvenile detention centers. Reaper's vision went red. His mother's name in this animal's mouth felt like a violation. I know you understand what it means to be helpless and afraid, Cruz continued. I know you remember what it feels like to watch someone you love die while you do nothing. So perhaps you understand that little Zara will remember this night for the rest of her life. She will remember watching her mother die. She will remember being helpless, just like you were. You threaten this child again, and I'll make sure you understand what it means to be afraid. 1 hour, Senor Stone. After that, I will burn your clubhouse to the ground with everyone in it, and then I will find the child anyway. Because that is what I do. I solve problems, and little Zara Williams is a very big problem. The line went dead. Reaper slowly lowered the phone. His hand was shaking, with rage, not fear. Around him, his brothers waited in tense silence. They'd heard enough of the conversation to understand the situation. "He's coming for her," Reaper said finally. 1 hour. "Then we fortify." Hammer stood up. "Lock down the clubhouse. Arm everyone. Prepare for siege." "No," Reaper shook his head. "He's got the numbers and the resources for a prolonged fight. We hold here, he just waits us out. Eventually, we run out of food, water, ammunition.
Eventually, someone gets tired or careless, and he gets what he wants." "So what's the play?" Ghost asked. Reaper looked at Zara, who was watching him with absolute trust. This child believed he could protect her. Maybe it was time to prove her right. "We move her. Somewhere Cruz doesn't know about. Somewhere even corrupt cops can't find. Raven, you still have that friend who runs the women's shelter on the east side?" "Sister Margaret, yeah. But Marcus, if the Vipers have police on their payroll..." "Sister Margaret doesn't report to the police. She answers to a higher authority." Reaper pulled out his phone. "And Cruz might own half the Detroit PD, but I doubt he's got connections in the Catholic Church." While Raven made the call, Ghost continued pulling up information. "Reaper, this is bigger than we thought. The Viper Syndicate isn't just moving drugs. They're running a full-scale takeover, buying businesses, blackmailing officials, eliminating competition. Detective Hayes wasn't the first cop they killed. He's just the first one that got witnessed." "How many others?" "At least 3 in the past 6 months. All ruled as suicides or accidents. All were investigating cartel activity." Ghost scrolled through files. "And Keisha Williams isn't their only witness problem. They've got a list." "A list?" "A hit list. People who saw too much, know too much, or could testify against them. They've been working through it systematically." Ghost turned the laptop around. Reaper stared at the screen. 15 names. 12 had lines through them. Deceased. 3 remained active, including Keisha Williams and 2 others. David Chen, a dock worker who'd witnessed a drug shipment. Maria Santos, a cleaning woman who'd overheard a planning meeting. "Sweet Jesus," Doc breathed. "They're killing witnesses faster than the cops can protect them." "The cops aren't trying to protect them." Hammer's voice was bitter. "The cops are helping Cruz find them." A soft voice interrupted their conversation. "My mama's gonna die, isn't she?" Every man in the room turned to look at Zara. She'd been so quiet on the couch, they'd almost forgotten she was there. But now she stood up, the blanket falling from her shoulders. "The bad men, they don't let people go." "I heard Gold Teeth Man tell Mama that. He said once you're on their list, the only way off is in a box." Zara's voice didn't waver. "So my mama's gonna die, unless you kill them first." "Zara," Reaper started. "Don't lie to me." Her small hands clenched into fists. "Grown-ups always lie to kids because they think we can't handle the truth. But I've been handling the truth for 3 weeks. I know what's going to happen. I just need to know if you're really going to help or if you're going to give me to Sister Margaret and forget about us." The directness of it, the adult understanding in a 7-year-old's voice, hit Reaper like a physical blow. He knelt down and looked her straight in the eyes. "I'm going to get your mama back. And then I'm going to make sure Cruz and his people never threaten anyone in this city again. Promise?" "I already promised, didn't I?" Zara studied his face with an intensity that was unsettling in someone so young. Then she nodded slowly. "Okay, but I want to help." "Baby, you've already helped. You got yourself here safely. You gave us information. I have more information." Zara walked to the table where Ghost's laptop sat. "I draw pictures. Mama said it helps me remember things. Can I show you?" Ghost pulled out a chair for her. Zara climbed up and reached into the pocket of her torn purple jacket, pulling out a folded piece of paper.
When she smoothed it flat on the table, every man in the room leaned in to look. The drawing was remarkable. Crude in the way all children's art is crude, stick figures in simple shapes, but with details that revealed a photographic memory. She'd drawn the 3 men who'd taken her mother. Their faces were carefully rendered with distinctive features.
The snake tattoos on their arms, coiled and detailed. The gold teeth in Mateo Cruz's mouth, each one numbered and precise. She'd even drawn the black car with tinted windows and the partial license plate in careful printing. 347-BMK. I saw this car before. Zara pointed to the drawing. 2 weeks ago, parked outside our apartment. And again last week, outside my school. And 3 days ago at the grocery store where Mama shops. Mama didn't notice, but I did. I draw everything that scares me.
Dr. Patterson said it would help me process my feelings.
Your mama had you in therapy? Doc asked gently. After the first time the bad men came, Mama said I needed to talk to someone about being scared all the time. Dr. Patterson is nice. She has a therapy dog named Biscuit in her office. He's a golden retriever, and he lets me pet him when I cry. Ghost was already running the partial plate through his databases. Zara, this is incredibly helpful.
Do you have more drawings?
She nodded and pulled out another folded paper. This one showed a building, a warehouse with distinctive architectural features, loading docks with numbers, security cameras mounted on corners, even the pattern of windows on the second floor. This is where they took the policeman before they shot him. Zara's voice remained matter-of-fact. Mama described it to me because she couldn't sleep. She said telling me made her feel less alone with the secret.
She said keeping scary things inside makes them bigger, but sharing them makes them smaller. The warehouse had an address number barely visible in the child's careful printing. 1247. 1247. Ghost was already typing. Warehouse district on Dansansi Street. That's Viper territory. Intelligence says they use it for drug processing, but if Keisha witnessed the execution there, it's more than processing. Reaper's voice was grim. It's where they handle their problems, their cleanup site. Zara pulled out a third drawing. This one showed the interior of a room. A chair in the center. Dark stains on the floor that a child might not understand, but grown men recognized as blood. And in the corner, barely visible, what looked like a woman tied to that chair. Mama described this too. She said she had nightmares about the room. She said the bad men would take her there if she talked. So I drew it for her, to make the nightmare smaller. Doc's voice was shaky. This child has been processing her mother's trauma along with her own. She's been carrying the weight of adult terror for 3 weeks. Hammer's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and swore. We got movement. Street cameras show multiple vehicles heading this direction. Black SUVs, tinted windows. ETA 5 minutes. He didn't wait the full hour. Reaper's voice was tight. Smart. Thought he'd catch us unprepared. Are we prepared? Doc asked. Reaper looked around the clubhouse at his brothers. Men who'd followed him through countless fights. Men who trusted his leadership, even when it led them into danger. And he looked at Zara, this 7-year-old child who'd stumbled into their world and somehow become worth dying for. Raven, take Zara out the back. Ghost, you go with them. Get her to Sister Margaret, and then disappear until I call you. Marcus, Raven started. This is not a discussion. Reaper's voice carried absolute authority. That child doesn't see what's about to happen here. She's seen enough violence. Zara grabbed his hand, her small fingers wrapping around his calloused palm. You're coming back, right? You're not going to die fighting the bad men? I'm not planning on it, sweetheart. That's not a promise. Reaper smiled, despite the situation. You're right, it's not. But I'll make you this promise.
Whether I come back or not, your mama is going to be safe.
My brothers won't stop until she's home with you. But I want you to come back too.
Zara's eyes filled with tears. I don't want you to die like my mama's gonna die. Your mama's not going to die, and neither am I. You can't know that. No, but I can fight like hell to make sure it doesn't happen. Zara threw her arms around his waist. Thank you for being scary enough to help. And for being nice, even though you look mean. As Raven and Ghost hustled Zara toward the back exit, she looked over her shoulder one last time. Mr. Reaper, when you saved my mama, tell her I was brave. Tell her I didn't cry. Tell her I found the scariest men I could, and they helped us.
I'll tell her, baby. Now go. The back door closed behind them. The sound of it echoed in the sudden silence of the clubhouse. Reaper turned to face his remaining brothers, Hammer, Doc, and the 15 other Hell's Angels who'd returned when they heard about the incoming threat. Men with scarred knuckles and hard eyes. Men who'd chosen this life because the normal world had no place for them. All right, listen up. Reaper's voice cut through the tension. The Viper Syndicate is coming here to take a 7-year-old girl. They're coming to kill her because she's the daughter of a witness. They think we're going to be easy targets because we're just a motorcycle club, not an army. He pulled his father's dog tags from under his shirt. William J. Morrison, U.S. Army. Vietnam, 1968 to 1970. The medal was tarnished with age, but Reaper had worn them every day for 33 years. Since the day they'd arrived, in a manila envelope with a letter saying his father had died in a car accident 6 months after coming home from the war. His father had survived 2 tours in the Mekong Delta, only to be killed by a drunk driver on a Tuesday afternoon in San Diego. My old man was a soldier. Reaper held up the tags. He taught me tactics before he died. Taught me how to plan an operation, how to use terrain, how to make superior numbers work against an enemy. And what Cruz doesn't know is that some of us remember those lessons. Hammer pumped his shotgun. What's the play, boss? We make them pay for every inch of ground. We make them understand that in Detroit, the Hells Angels protect our own. And we make sure that when this is over, Mateo Cruz knows that Zara Williams is untouchable. The sound of engines echoed outside. Powerful, expensive engines that didn't belong in this neighborhood. The deep rumble of SUVs built for intimidation rather than efficiency. Reaper checked his Glock. The familiar weight of the weapon that had saved his life more times than he could count. One more thing. His voice dropped. Whatever happens tonight, Keisha Williams gets rescued. That's our only objective. Everything else is just noise. We're not here to win a war. We're here to save a little girl's mother. Don't forget that. Doc moved to the window and peered through the blinds. 6 vehicles. Could be 20, 30 men. Maybe more. Good. Reaper's smile was cold. More targets. The rumble of engines grew louder. Close. The SUVs were circling the block, probably looking for rear exits, counting visible defenders, assessing the situation before they committed. Reaper moved to his position behind the bar. It was reinforced steel underneath the wood veneer. He'd made sure of that years ago. Good cover for what was coming. Hammer took the stairs to the 2nd floor, where he had a clear sightline to the front entrance. Doc moved to the back hallway, where he could provide medical support without being in the direct line of fire. The other brothers spread out, taking positions they'd practiced in drills that had seemed paranoid at the time, but now proved their worth. The engine stopped. Car doors opened and closed, the distinctive metal-on-metal sound of weapons being checked and loaded. Reaper's phone buzzed one last time, a text from an unknown number. Last chance, Senor Stone. Send out the girl and live. Keep her and die. He didn't bother responding. 30 seconds of silence. The kind of silence that comes before explosions, before violence, before everything changes. Then footsteps on the porch, heavy boots, military cadence. These weren't street thugs. These were trained men. A voice called out in accented English. "Marcus Stone, we know the child is inside. Send her out and we will leave peacefully." Reaper didn't answer.
"We have no wish to harm you or your men.
"This is not your fight. The girl is our business. Give her to us and go back to your drinks." Still no answer. "Very well. You have made your choice." The clubhouse door exploded inward with a crash that sent splinters flying across the room. A battering ram. They'd brought a goddamn battering ram to a residential neighborhood. 6 men in tactical gear poured through the opening, weapons raised, shouting in Spanish.
But the Hells Angels were already moving, already firing, already making the Vipers pay for their arrogance. Hammer's shotgun roared from the second floor. The lead Viper went down hard, clutching his chest. The man behind him stumbled over the body, and Reaper's first shot took him in the shoulder, spinning him around. The clubhouse erupted into chaos. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness. The stench of gunpowder filled the air. Men were shouting, cursing, screaming. But through it all, Reaper felt a strange calm settle over him. This was what he'd been training for his entire life. Every fight in foster care, every deployment in Afghanistan, every biker war over territory and pride. It had all been preparation for this moment. For protecting a 7-year-old girl who'd knocked on his door and called him scary. For keeping a promise to a child who'd already seen too much darkness. For finally, being the man his mother had needed, but never had. A Viper soldier appeared in front of him, weapon rising. Reaper moved on instinct, his Marine Corps training taking over. He knocked the gun aside, stepped inside the man's reach, and drove his knife up under the ribcage. The Viper's eyes went wide with shock, then empty. More men were pouring through the door. Too many. They'd underestimated the Viper numbers. "Reaper!" Hammer's voice from upstairs. "We got reinforcements coming. 3 more vehicles." "How many?" "At least 15. We're outnumbered 3-1. Reaper fired 3 more shots, dropping 2 Vipers and forcing a third to take cover. His mind was racing, calculating angles and odds and possibilities. They couldn't win this fight, not with these numbers. But they didn't need to win. They just needed to survive long enough for Zara to get to safety. "All positions, fall back to secondary defensive line." Reaper's voice cut through the chaos. "We're not dying for real estate. We're buying time." The Hells Angels began a controlled retreat, moving back through the clubhouse toward the reinforced positions in the rear. They left booby traps and obstacles in their wake, slowing the Viper advance. A Viper soldier got too close to Doc's position. The old medic, hands suddenly steady as stone, fired once. The Viper dropped. "I'm getting too old for this shit," Doc muttered, reloading. Reaper's phone buzzed, a text from Ghost. "Package secure. Sister Margaret has her. We're ghosts." Relief flooded through him. Zara was safe. Whatever happened now, at least that child was protected. Which meant he could fight without holding back. "Brothers!" Reaper's voice boomed through the clubhouse. "The kid's safe. Now we show these cartel bastards what happens when they come into our house." The Hells Angels' defensive retreat suddenly became a counterattack. Men who'd been falling back now surged forward with renewed fury. This wasn't about survival anymore. This was about sending a message. The Vipers, caught off guard by the sudden aggression, faltered. Their tactical advantage meant nothing against men who fought with the desperation of cornered wolves. Reaper vaulted over the bar and charged straight at the center of the Viper formation. His knife found flesh. His gun found targets. Every movement was economical, efficient, deadly. He was 8 years old again, hiding in a closet, powerless to stop his mother's murder. But he wasn't that child anymore. He was Marcus Reaper Stone,
president of the Hells Angels, former Marine, and he'd be damned if he let another mother die while he stood by and did nothing. A Viper soldier swung a rifle at his head. Reaper ducked under it, grabbed the man's tactical vest, and slammed his forehead into the soldier's nose. The crunch of breaking cartilage, the spray of blood. The man went down. Another Viper came at him from the side. Reaper spun, firing twice. Center mass. The way they'd taught him in the Marines. The way that saved lives when every second counted. But there were too many. Even with the element of surprise, even with their fury and skill, the Hells Angels were being overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Reaper felt something slam into his shoulder. Not a bullet, a rifle butt. The impact drove him to one knee. Pain exploded through his body. A Viper stood over him, weapon pointed at his head. Young kid, maybe 22, eyes wide with adrenaline and fear. "Don't move, puto," the kid said. His gun hand was shaking. Reaper looked up at him and smiled, blood in his teeth. "You got about 3 seconds before my brother behind you puts a hole in your skull. So I'll give you this one chance. Drop the gun and walk away." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" The kid's eyes flicked to the side, trying to see if anyone was really behind him. That moment of distraction was all Reaper needed. He lunged forward, grabbed the gun barrel, and yanked it aside as the weapon fired. The bullet went wide, punching through the ceiling. Reaper drove his knife into the kid's thigh. Not fatal, but enough to drop him screaming. "Told you," Reaper muttered, pulling himself back to his feet. His shoulder was on fire, but nothing felt broken. He could still fight. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called the cops, which meant this firefight was about to get even more complicated. "Reaper," Hammer appeared at his side. "We need to extract. Cops are coming and half these Vipers are still standing." "How many of ours?" "2 wounded, none critical, but we can't hold this position." Reaper made the calculation in a heartbeat. They'd accomplished the mission. Zara was safe. Now they needed to survive long enough to rescue her mother. "Everyone out! Rally Point Charlie! Move!" The Hells Angels began their final retreat, laying down covering fire as they moved toward the back exits. The Vipers, hearing the sirens too, didn't pursue with the same aggression. Nobody wanted to explain a full-scale shootout to Detroit PD, even corrupt cops. Reaper was the last one out, backing through the rear door, while firing controlled bursts to keep the Vipers pinned. When he finally emerged into the alley behind the clubhouse, Hammer was waiting with his bike. "Your ride, boss." Reaper swung onto his Harley, his shoulder screaming in protest. The engine roared to life, that beautiful, thunderous sound that meant freedom and power and home. The Hells Angels scattered into the Detroit night, their bikes disappearing down different streets, taking different routes to the rally point. Behind them, the clubhouse burned. The Vipers had set it on fire, probably to destroy evidence, probably to send a message. Let it burn, Reaper thought. A building could be rebuilt. Lives couldn't. As he rode through the rain-slicked streets, Reaper thought about Zara, about her drawings, about her promise to be brave, about the trust in her eyes when she'd asked him for help. He thought about his mother, Angela Stone, who died because no one had been scary enough to protect her. He thought about Keisha Williams, somewhere in the city, probably thinking her daughter was dead or captured. And he thought about Mateo Cruz, the man with gold teeth who thought terror was a tool and children were leverage. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. But for the first time in 37 years, Marcus Stone felt like he was fighting for something that actually mattered. Not territory, not respect, not pride. For a 7-year-old girl who'd knocked on his door and called him scary. For a chance at redemption that he'd never thought he'd get. For the promise he'd made to a child who still believed in heroes. The rain washed the blood from his hands as he rode, but some stains, he knew, went deeper than skin. The question was whether saving one mother could wash away the stain of losing another. He was about to find out. The rally point was an abandoned auto shop 3 miles from the burning clubhouse. Reaper's Harley skidded to a stop in the gravel lot, his shoulders screaming with every movement. Blood soaked through his leather jacket, warm and sticky against his skin. Hammer was already there, counting heads as the other Hells Angels arrived in 2s and 3s. 17 accounted for, 2 still missing. Jenkins took a round to the leg, but he'll live. Paulson's got a concussion from that battering ram, but Doc's checking him now. The missing 2? Snake and Bulldog, last seen covering our rear exit. Reaper pulled out his phone and dialed Snake's number. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. Bulldog's did the same. Damn it, Reaper's jaw clenched. Crews might have them. Or they went to ground. Hammer's voice held hope that neither of them believed. You know Snake, he's survived worse. Ghost's car pulled into the lot, headlights cutting through the rain. He emerged from the driver's side while Raven helped Zara out of the back. The little girl's eyes went immediately to Reaper, scanning him for injuries with an intensity that belonged on someone much older. You're bleeding, Zara said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Your shoulder. Just a scratch, sweetheart. That's what grown-ups always say when they're hurt bad. She walked straight to him and gently touched the blood-soaked leather. My mama says lies don't help anybody feel better. They just make the scary truth come later. Doc appeared with his medical bag. Kid's right. Let me look at that shoulder before you bleed out trying to be tough. Reaper let Doc guide him to a workbench while Zara hovered nearby, watching every movement. The old medic cut away the leather jacket and examined the wound with practiced efficiency. Through and through. Missed the bone, missed the major vessels. You're lucky. Don't feel lucky. You're alive. That's luckier than Snake and Bulldog right now. Doc began cleaning the wound. This is gonna hurt. It did. Reaper bit down on a leather strap while Doc worked, his vision going white at the edges. Through the pain, he heard Zara's small voice. When my mama sets bones at the hospital, she tells people to think about something happy, something that makes them forget the hurt for a little while. Yeah? Reaper managed through gritted teeth. What do you think about? Pancakes, the kind Mama makes on Sundays, with the blueberries arranged in the smiley face. And the syrup that's warm, because she heats it up in the microwave for exactly 17 seconds. Zara's voice was soft but steady. What do you think about? Reaper closed his eyes. What did he think about? Most of his memories were violence and loss. But then an image surfaced. His mother, before everything went wrong. She was singing while cooking dinner. Some old Motown song he couldn't quite remember the name of. Her voice had been terrible, completely off-key, but she'd smiled while she sang. My mom's singing, he said quietly. She couldn't carry a tune to save her life, but she sang anyway. That's a good memory. Zara nodded solemnly. Mama says good memories are like Band-Aids for your heart. Doc finished stitching and wrapped the shoulder tightly. You're good to go. But Reaper, you need rest. Real rest. Not this macho bullshit where you pretend you're fine and then collapse from blood loss. I'll rest when Keisha's safe. Ghost approached with his laptop. We got a problem. Multiple problems, actually. Talk to me. First problem. Detroit PD just issued an APB for all of us. Warrant charges include assault with deadly weapons, attempted murder of police officers, and destruction of property. Attempted murder of cops? We didn't shoot any cops. 3 of the Vipers were off-duty officers. They're spinning this as a biker gang attacking law enforcement. Ghost's face was grim. Second problem. The Vipers are putting out word on the street. 50,000 for information leading to our location. 25,000 for information about the girl. Reaper looked at Zara, who was pretending not to listen while she examined Doc's medical supplies with the intense focus children use when they're scared. "Third problem?" Reaper asked.
Sister Margaret called. Someone tried to breach the shelter 20 minutes ago. 2 men with cartel tattoos. She turned them away, but they're watching the place now. We can't bring Zara back there.
"Where is she now?"
Still at the shelter. Sister Margaret's got some serious security. Former cops who owe her favors. But it's not going to hold forever against determined assault.
Hammer slammed his fist against the wall.
So we got no safe house, no backup location, and every cop in Detroit looking for us. Plus the cartel's got unlimited resources, and our clubhouse is ash. What's the play?
Reaper stood up, testing his shoulder. The pain was manageable. Everything was manageable, if you were willing to pay the price. "We hit them first, before they regroup, before they expect it."
"Hit them where?" Ghost asked. "We don't even know where they're holding Keisha."
"Warehouse 1247. Zara's drawing showed it."
That's where they took Detective Hayes. That's where they handle their problems. That's where Keisha is.
That's also going to be their most heavily defended position, now that we've shown we're willing to fight. Hammer shook his head. "They'll be expecting retaliation." "Good. Let them expect it. Let them pull all their soldiers to that warehouse to defend it." Reaper's voice carried the cold calculation that had kept him alive through 2 tours in Afghanistan.
Because, while they're all concentrated in one place, we're going to hit them from an angle they're not watching.
Ghost's eyes lit up with understanding.
"The police."
"What?"
"The corrupt cops on the Viper payroll. We've got evidence, right? The photographs from the auto shop, the financial records, the hit list. We give all of that to someone in law enforcement who's still clean."
"And who exactly is still clean?" Hammer's voice dripped skepticism. "Cruz said he owns half the department."
Half isn't all. Ghost was already typing. FBI Special Agent Sarah Chen. She's been investigating cartel activity in Detroit for 2 years. Word is, the Vipers have tried to buy her 3 times and failed. She's clean.
"You trust her?"
"I trust that she wants to take down the cartel more than she wants to arrest bikers."
Ghost pulled up a photo on his laptop. Asian woman, mid-30s, with sharp eyes that had seen things. "She's good people, Reaper."
Lost her partner to cartel violence last year. She's got motivation.
Reaper considered this. Involving federal agents meant giving up control. It meant trusting the same system that had failed him his entire life. But it also meant bringing resources to the fight that the Hells Angels couldn't match. "Set up a meet, somewhere public, somewhere she can't bring a tactical team without us seeing it coming." "When?" 2 hours. We don't have time for anything longer."
A small hand tugged at Reaper's good arm. Zara looked up at him with eyes too old for her face.
"Mr. Reaper, when you save my mama, is she going to be okay? Like, really okay? Or is she going to be broken inside like the people on TV who get rescued but they're never the same?"
The question hit Reaper harder than the bullet had. This child understood trauma in a way no 7-year-old should.
She had been living with it for 3 weeks, watching her mother deteriorate under the weight of fear and violence.
He knelt down to her level, ignoring the protest from his shoulder. "I'm not going to lie to you, Zara. Your mama's been through something terrible. She's probably scared and hurt and maybe a little broken right now. But broken doesn't mean unfixable. And with you there to help her heal, with people who care about both of you, she can get better."
"You promise?"
"I promise we're going to give her every chance to heal. The rest is up to her, and you, and time. Some promises I can make, some I can't. But I can promise I won't stop fighting until she's safe." Zara studied his face for a long moment, then nodded.
"Okay, that's a good enough promise."
Raven appeared with food, fast food burgers and fries from a drive-thru. "Everyone needs to eat."
Can't fight on empty stomachs.
As the Hells Angels gathered around to eat, Reaper noticed how they'd naturally formed a protective circle around Zara. These hard men with their tattoos and scars, treating this child like she was made of glass and dynamite in equal measure. Snake's phone rang. Everyone froze. Reaper grabbed it from the workbench where Hammer had placed it earlier. Unknown number. He answered. Senor Stone. Mateo Cruz's voice came through, smooth and poisonous. I hope you're enjoying your temporary freedom.
Where are my men?
Your men? Ah, you mean the large one with the serpent tattoo on his neck, and the smaller one with the scarred face? Yes, we have them. They fought well, especially the big one. He took down 3 of my soldiers before we subdued him.
Reaper's hand tightened on the phone. If you've hurt them,
they're alive, for now.
Which brings me to my proposal. A trade. Your men for the child. Simple. Clean.
Everyone gets what they want. Except Keisha Williams.
The nurse has already served her purpose. She told us everything we needed to know about what she saw, who she told, where she kept her documentation. She's no longer relevant to our business.
You killed her.
The words came out flat, emotionless. But inside, Reaper felt something crack. Not yet, but soon. Unless you make this trade, then perhaps we can be generous. Perhaps we let the nurse live. Perhaps we even let your men live.
All you have to do is give us the child.
Zara had gone completely still, listening to every word. Her face had lost all color. No deal, Reaper said.
I thought you might say that, so let me sweeten the offer. You have something I want. I have 3 things you want. 2 men and 1 woman. I'll trade all 3 for the child. But this offer expires in 1 hour. After that, I start sending you pieces of your brothers to encourage cooperation.
You're lying about Keisha. She's already dead.
Am I?
There was a rustling sound. Then a woman's voice came on the line. Weak, terrified, but unmistakably alive.
Marcus Stone? Please, if you have my daughter, keep her away from these men. Don't let them...
The voice cut off with a cry of pain. Cruz came back on. As you can hear, the nurse is very much alive and very motivated to beg for her daughter's safety. It's quite touching, really. A mother's love. 1 hour, you said. 57 minutes now. The location will be texted to you in 30 minutes. Come alone with the child, and everyone lives. Bring your gang, and I start executing hostages. Your choice, Senor Stone. The line went dead. Reaper slowly lowered the phone. Every eye in the auto shop was on him, but the only eyes that mattered were Zara's.
My mama's alive,
she whispered. Yeah, sweetheart. She's alive.
And he wants to trade me for her.
That's what he said.
Are you going to do it?
Zara's voice didn't waver.
Are you going to give me to the bad men to save my mama and your friends?
The question hung in the air like smoke. Every Hell's Angel in that room knew the calculation. 3 lives for 1. The math was simple. The morality was not. No, Reaper said quietly. I'm not giving you to anyone.
But my mama...
We're going to save your mama, and Snake, and Bulldog. And we're going to do it without handing you over to a man who's going to kill you the second he has you in his hands. Zara's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back.
How?
I'm still working on that part. Ghost stood up from his laptop. I might have something. The text Cruz mentioned, when it comes through, I can trace it. Not immediately, but within a few minutes. If we can identify the tower it pings from, we can narrow down his location.
He's too smart to text from the warehouse where he's holding the hostages, Hammer objected.
Maybe, but he's also arrogant. He thinks we're beaten. He thinks we're desperate enough to walk into his trap. Arrogant people make mistakes. Reaper's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Belle Isle Bridge, South Side, 1 hour. Come alone, or they die. Belle Isle was a park on an island in the Detroit River. One bridge in, one bridge out. No cover, no escape routes. The perfect place for an ambush. Ghost was already working. Got it. Text originated from a tower in the warehouse district. 3 possible locations within range. But given what we know about Viper operations, he pulled up a map. Warehouse 1247, 90% probability. So, he is at the warehouse. Reaper studied the map. Which means most of his men are there too, concentrated in one location. Along with 3 hostages, Doc's voice was grim. You go in guns blazing. Keisha, Snake, and Bulldog are the first ones to die. We don't go in guns blazing. We go in smart. Reaper turned to face his brothers.
How many of us are combat effective? Hammer did a quick count.
14, not including you. Jenkins can't walk on that leg, and Paulson's in no shape to fight with that concussion. 14 against how many? Intelligence from before the Clubhouse attack suggested 30 Vipers in Detroit. We took down maybe 6 at the Clubhouse, so call it 24 remaining. But Cruz said he could bring in reinforcements from Chicago. Could be 50 by now. Could be more. The math was bad. The terrain was worse. And they had less than an hour to plan an operation that would normally take days. But Reaper had done impossible before. In Helmand Province, his unit had rescued 4 Marines from a Taliban compound with only 6 men and a prayer. The odds had been similar. The stakes had been just as high. Ghost, I need building schematics for warehouse 1247. Every entrance, every window, every weak point. On it. Hammer, inventory our weapons. Everything we've got left after the Clubhouse. We're light, boss. Most of our arsenal was in the Clubhouse armory. Then we improvise. Doc, how much morphine you got in that bag? Enough for maybe 3 people. Why? Because in about 45 minutes, I'm going to need you to numb my shoulder enough that I can use this arm properly. I don't care about the long-term damage. I just need it functional for the next few hours. Doc's face darkened.
Marcus, if I do that, you could permanently lose function in that shoulder. Nerve damage, muscle damage, infection.
I'll take those odds over a dead mother and 2 dead brothers. Raven stepped forward.
And what about Zara? Where does she go while you're playing hero?
Sister Margaret's shelter is compromised. We can't take her back there.
So where?
Reaper looked at Zara, who was watching the adults plan her fate, with the resigned expression of someone who'd learned too young that she had no control over her own life. We take her with us, he said quietly. What? The word came from 3 people simultaneously. You can't take a child into a combat zone? Raven's voice rose with disbelief. That's insane. Leaving her anywhere else is more dangerous. Cruz has resources everywhere. He's got cops on his payroll, informants on every corner. The second we leave her somewhere, he'll know about it. And she'll be taken. So your solution is to bring her to a warehouse full of armed cartel soldiers? My solution is to keep her close enough that I can protect her myself, because I don't trust anyone else to do it. Zara's small voice cut through the argument. I want to go. I want to help save my mama. Sweetheart, this isn't... I drew the pictures that helped you find the warehouse. I remembered the license plate. I can help. Zara's chin jutted out stubbornly. And I'm tired of being left behind while grown-ups decide if my mama lives or dies. Reaper recognized that expression. It was the same one he'd worn at 8 years old, when the social worker tried to tell him he couldn't attend his mother's funeral. The same stubborn refusal to be treated like a child, when childhood had already been stolen. Okay, he said, but you stay in the car with Ghost. You don't move until I come get you. Understood? Understood. Raven looked like she wanted to argue more, but she just shook her head. You're all insane. Every single one of you. Probably. Reaper checked his watch. 42 minutes until Cruz's deadline. Ghost, where are we on those schematics? Got them.
Warehouse has 4 entrances: main loading dock, south personnel door, north fire exit, and a roof access hatch. Security cameras at all corners, probably feeding to a central monitoring station. Power supply? External transformer on the east wall. Single point of failure. Good. That's our first move. Hammer, you take 2 men and cut the power exactly 3 minutes after I enter the building. That gives me time to locate the hostages before everything goes dark. How are you getting in? The front door. I'm accepting Cruz's offer. The hell you are, Hammer's voice rose. That's suicide. Not if I'm wearing a wire. Not if Ghost is tracking my position. Not if you're ready to move the second I give the signal. Reaper began laying out the plan with military precision. I go to Belle Isle like Cruz wants. I tell him I'm willing to trade Zara for the hostages. But I need proof of life first. I need to see them. That gets me inside the warehouse.
And then what? Doc asked. Then I start a war. The next 30 minutes passed in controlled chaos. Ghost rigged a wire so small it was nearly invisible, tucked into the collar of Reaper's jacket. Hammer distributed weapons, a mix of handguns, shotguns, and one AR-15 that someone had stashed in their bike saddlebag. Doc numbed Reaper's shoulder with enough local anesthetic to drop an elephant. Zara watched it all with wide eyes, occasionally asking questions that revealed how much she understood about violence and tactics. Why are you putting that medicine in Mr. Reaper's shoulder? So he can use his arm even though it's hurt. Won't that make the hurt worse later? Probably, sweetheart. Then why do it? Because sometimes we have to choose between hurt now and hurt never because we're dead. Zara nodded solemnly. Like that made perfect sense. 15 minutes before the deadline, Reaper pulled Ghost aside. If this goes wrong, if I don't make it out, you get Zara to the FBI, to this Agent Chen. You give her everything we have on the Vipers. You make sure Keisha's death means something. You're coming out. But if I don't, Ghost's jaw tightened. If you don't, I'll make sure Cruz wishes he'd never heard the name Hell's Angels. I'll burn his entire organization to the ground and salt the earth where it stood. That's the spirit. They loaded into vehicles, Reaper in his Harley, Ghost and Zara in the car, Hammer and the strike team in 2 vans. As they pulled out of the auto shop, Zara called out from Ghost's back seat. Mr. Reaper? He looked back at her. Bring my mama home, please. I will, sweetheart. I promise. It was a promise he intended to keep or die trying. The ride to Belle Isle took 8 minutes, long enough for Reaper to go over the plan 3 more times in his head, long enough to acknowledge that the odds of survival were maybe 30%, long enough to make peace with that. The bridge to Belle Isle was deserted. Cruz had probably paid off the park police to stay away. Reaper's bike rumbled across the span, its headlight cutting through the rain and darkness. Ahead, he could see vehicles parked near the south end. Black SUVs, just like the ones that had attacked the clubhouse. He stopped 50 yards away and dismounted slowly, hands visible. The wire under his collar transmitted everything back to Ghost. Car doors opened. 6 men emerged, all armed. And in the center, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than Reaper's bike, stood Mateo Cruz. His gold teeth gleamed in the headlights. Senor Stone, right on time. I appreciate punctuality. Where are my people? Patience. First, where is the child? Close, but not here. I want proof of life first. I want to see Keisha, Snake, and Bulldog alive, unharmed.
Then we talk about the trade. Cruz smiled. You don't trust me. I'm hurt. You're a murderer and a liar. Trust doesn't enter into it. Fair enough. Cruz gestured to one of his men. Bring them. 2 SUVs pulled forward. Their back doors opened, and 3 figures stumbled out, hands bound. Snake's face was swollen almost beyond recognition. Bulldog moved with the stiff gait of someone with broken ribs, and Keisha Williams looked like she'd aged 20 years in 3 weeks. But they were alive.
There, proof of life. Now, the child. They come to me first. I verify they're okay. Then I make the call for Zara to be brought here. Cruz's smile faltered. You try my patience. You try mine by threatening children. Seems like we're even. For a moment, the 2 men stared at each other across the rain-slicked pavement. Then Cruz laughed. I like you, Senor Stone. In another life, we could have worked together. You have the mindset of a soldier.
The willingness to do what's necessary. He gestured to his men.
Let them go. The Vipers cut the bindings. Snake, Bulldog, and Keisha stumbled forward, moving toward Reaper with the desperate hope of people who'd accepted they were going to die. That's when Reaper saw it, the detonator in Cruz's hand. Down! He screamed, diving toward the hostages. The Belle Isle Bridge erupted in fire and thunder as explosives rigged beneath the span tore through steel and concrete.
And Reaper's world went dark.
Reaper's ears were ringing so loud he couldn't hear his own heartbeat. His face was pressed against cold concrete, rain mixing with blood in his mouth. The explosion had thrown him 20 feet, his body landing hard enough to knock the wind from his lungs. Move! The words screamed through his brain. Move or die. He rolled onto his side, gasping for air. Through the smoke and rain, he could see the bridge, or what was left of it.
A massive section of the span had collapsed into the Detroit River, twisted steel jutting from the water like broken bones.
Snake! His voice came out as a croak. Bulldog! Keisha! A groan answered him. Snake was crawling across the pavement, his left leg bent at an angle that made Reaper's stomach turn. But he was alive. Bulldog's down! Snake's voice was hoarse. Not moving! The woman! She's in the water! Reaper forced himself to his feet, his body screaming in protest. His shoulder had torn open again, blood soaking through Doc's bandage. But that didn't matter. Nothing mattered except the splash he'd just heard. He ran to the edge of the broken bridge and looked down. 20 feet below, dark water churned with debris. And there, a hand breaking the surface, grasping at nothing. Reaper didn't think. He jumped. The river hit him like a freight train, cold enough to stop his heart. The current pulled at him, trying to drag him under.
But he'd trained in water worse than this.
Night insertions off the coast of Afghanistan, where the ocean wanted to kill you and enemy fire wanted to finish the job. He surfaced, gasping, and spotted Keisha. She was struggling, her bound hands making it impossible to swim. Her head went under. 3 strokes brought him to her position. He grabbed her jacket and pulled her up, her face breaking the surface as she coughed and sputtered. I got you! He shouted over the roar of water.
Stop fighting! Let me do the work!
But Keisha's eyes were wild with panic. She thrashed against him, her elbow catching him in the jaw. Your daughter! The words cut through her panic. Zara needs you alive! Stop fighting! Keisha went still. Zara? She's safe, but she needs her mama. So you're going to calm down and let me get us to shore. Understood? Keisha nodded weakly. Reaper kicked toward the riverbank, his injured shoulder protesting every movement. The current fought him, trying to pull them downstream toward the rapids. His legs were going numb from the cold. His vision was starting to blur. Almost there. Just a few more feet. His hand found mud, then rocks. He pulled Keisha onto the shore and collapsed beside her, both of them coughing up river water. "My daughter," Keisha gasped. "Where is she? Is she really safe?" "With my people. Ghost is protecting her." "Ghost?" Despite everything, Keisha almost laughed. "You've got people named Ghost and Reaper protecting my baby girl? What kind of guardian angels are you?" "The kind with motorcycles and anger issues." Gunfire erupted from the bridge above. Reaper's head snapped up. Through the smoke, he could see Cruz's men advancing on Snake's position. His brother was trying to drag Bulldog to cover with one working leg. "Stay here," Reaper ordered Keisha. "Stay low, stay quiet." "Where are you going?" "To finish this." He pulled himself up the riverbank, water streaming from his clothes. His Glock was gone, lost in the river. But there, 20 feet away, one of Cruz's men lay dead from the explosion, his rifle still clutched in his hands. Reaper took the weapon and checked the magazine. 15 rounds. It would have to be enough. He moved through the smoke like a ghost himself, using the burning vehicles for cover. 2 Vipers had Snake pinned down behind an overturned SUV. They were advancing slowly, confident in their superior position. Reaper shot the first one in the back. 2 rounds, center mass, the way the Marines had taught him. The man dropped without a sound. The second Viper spun toward the threat, but Reaper was already moving. 3 more rounds, and the man went down, clutching his chest. "Snake!" Reaper reached his brother's position. "How bad?" "Legs broken. Hurts like hell, but I'll live." Snake gestured to Bulldog. "He's worse. Took shrapnel to the gut. He's bleeding out." Reaper dropped beside Bulldog and pressed his hands against the wound. Blood pulsed between his fingers, hot and slick. Too much blood. "Hey, boss." Bulldog's voice was weak. "Guess I'm not gonna make it to that poker game next week." "Shut up. You're gonna be fine." "Don't lie to a dying man. It's rude." Bulldog coughed, blood on his lips. "Just promise me something." "Anything." "Kill that gold-toothed bastard. Kill him slow." "I promise." Bulldog's eyes closed. His breathing went shallow, then stopped. "No!" Snake grabbed Bulldog's shoulders. "Come on, brother. Stay with us." But Bulldog was gone. Reaper felt something inside him go cold and hard. He'd lost brothers before, in Afghanistan, in biker wars, in fights over territory that didn't matter. But Bulldog had been with him for 12 years, had saved his life in Kandahar, had been the one to pull him out of a burning building in 09, and now he was dead, because Reaper had walked into Cruz's trap. "Boss!" Snake's voice cut through the rage. "We gotta move. More Vipers coming." Reaper looked up. 3 black SUVs were speeding across the intact section of bridge. Cruz was sending reinforcements. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Somehow, it had survived the river. Ghost's voice came through, urgent. "Reaper, I saw the explosion. Are you alive?" "Barely. Bulldog's dead. Snake's got a broken leg. I need extraction, now." "I'm 2 minutes out. But Reaper, we got a bigger problem." Zara heard the explosion. "She knows you're in trouble, and she's—" A child's scream cut through the line.
"Let me go! My mama's down there! Mr. Reaper needs help!"
"Zara, no!" Ghost's voice was strained. "Stay in the— Damn it, she bit me!" The line went dead. Reaper's blood turned to ice. Zara was running toward a combat zone. A 7-year-old girl running straight into hell because she thought he needed help. "Snake, can you shoot?" "With this leg? Not accurately, but I can pull a trigger." Reaper handed him the rifle. "Anyone who's not us comes through that smoke, you shoot them. I need to find that kid before Cruz does. He ran back the way he'd come, his body operating on pure adrenaline now. The pain in his shoulder was a distant thing, unimportant. All that mattered was finding Zara. He heard her before he saw her. Small footsteps splashing through puddles, ragged breathing that came with crying and running at the same time.
Mr. Reaper!
Her voice cut through the night.
Where are you?
Zara, stop running. Stay where... She burst through the smoke and crashed into him so hard they both nearly fell. Her arms wrapped around his waist, and she sobbed into his wet jacket.
I heard the explosion, and I thought you were dead, and I couldn't just sit in the car while you were dead because you're the only person who's helping us, and...
Hey, I'm okay. See? Still breathing. Still scary looking. He gently pried her arms loose and knelt down. But Zara, you can't be here. It's too dangerous.
Where's my mama?
Safe. I got her out of the water. She's hiding by the riverbank.
I want to see her.
You will. But first we need to... Headlights cut through the smoke. An SUV was rolling toward them, moving slowly, deliberately. Hunting. Reaper grabbed Zara and dove behind a concrete barrier. The SUV stopped 20 feet away. Its doors opened. Mateo Cruz stepped out, his gold teeth gleaming in the headlights. He wasn't alone. 4 armed men flanked him, weapons raised. "Senor Stone!" Cruz's voice carried across the destroyed bridge. "I know you're there. I can see your blood trail, and I suspect you have something precious hiding with you." Reaper pressed Zara against the concrete, covering her with his body. His hand found the piece of rebar, torn loose by the explosion. Not much of a weapon, but it was something. Come out, Cruz called in a sing-song voice. "Make this easy. Give me the child, and I'll let you live. You have my word as a businessman." "Your word isn't worth shit," Reaper shouted back. "Perhaps not, but consider your position. You're injured, unarmed, hiding behind concrete with a little girl who's going to watch you die. Is that really how you want this to end?" Zara's small hand found Reaper's. She squeezed hard, her palms sweaty with fear. "I got a counteroffer," Reaper called out. "You walk away now, and maybe I don't kill every single person in your organization. Maybe I leave some of you alive to run back to your bosses in Mexico and explain how you lost an entire city to a motorcycle club." Cruz laughed. "Bold words from a dead man. But I'll tell you what, I'm feeling generous. Send out the child, and I'll make your death quick. Painless. Almost merciful." Hard pass. "Then you leave me no choice." Cruz nodded to his men. They began advancing, spreading out to flank the concrete barrier. Reaper counted seconds. 4 men, maybe 10 seconds until they had clear shots. He could maybe take one with the rebar before they gunned him down. Maybe protect Zara with his body for a few seconds more. Not good enough. Zara's hand squeezed tighter. "I'm scared." "Me too, sweetheart." "Are we gonna die?" "Not if I can help it." The Vipers were 5 feet away now. Reaper tensed, preparing to charge. If he was going to die, he'd die fighting. That's when Ghost's car came screaming through the smoke, horn blaring. It slammed into the nearest Viper, sending him flying. The other 3 scattered, firing wildly. Ghost leaned out the driver's window with a shotgun and fired twice. 1 Viper went down. The other 2 took cover behind their SUV. "Get in!" Ghost screamed. Reaper grabbed Zara and ran. Bullets chewed up the pavement behind them. He dove into Ghost's back seat, pulling Zara with him. "Go, go, go!" Ghost floored it. The car fishtailed, then caught traction. They were speeding back toward the mainland when Reaper remembered. "Keisha! We left Keisha at the riverbank." "Already got her." Ghost gestured to the front passenger seat. Keisha Williams twisted around, her face pale but alive. When she saw Zara, something in her expression broke and reformed.
Mama!
Zara tried to climb into the front seat.
Baby girl! Oh my God, baby girl!
Keisha reached back and grabbed her daughter's hand, holding on like she'd never let go. Both of them were crying, saying each other's names over and over. Reaper watched them and felt something in his chest ease. Whatever else happened tonight, he'd kept his promise.
Mother and daughter were together. Bullets punched through the rear window. Ghost cursed and swerved as Cruz's SUVs gave chase. "How many following?" Reaper asked.
3 vehicles, maybe 12 men total.
"Can we lose them?"
Not in this car. Engine shot from the Clubhouse raid. We're running on fumes and prayers. Reaper's phone rang. Hammer's voice came through, urgent. "Boss, we heard the explosion. Where are you?" "Belle Isle Bridge, or what's left of it."
"We got 3 SUVs on our tail, and we're not going to outrun them."
"Copy that. Strike teams en route. ETA 2 minutes." "We might not have 2 minutes." Another burst of gunfire. The back windshield exploded. Zara screamed. Keisha pulled her daughter down, covering her with her own body. Ghost's car was slowing. The engine coughed, sputtered. "We're done!" Ghost shouted. "Engine's dead!" The car rolled to a stop in the middle of Woodward Avenue.
Behind them, the 3 SUVs were closing fast.
Reaper kicked open the door. "Everybody out! Move to cover!" They scrambled across the street toward a closed gas station. Reaper was limping badly now, his leg having taken a piece of shrapnel he hadn't noticed until the adrenaline started to fade. Ghost supported Keisha, while Reaper carried Zara. The little girl's arms were wrapped around his neck so tight he could barely breathe. "I got you," he whispered. "I got you."
They reached the gas station just as the SUVs screeched to a stop. Doors flew open. Cruz's men poured out, at least a dozen of them, forming a perimeter. Ghost found a steel door around the back. It was locked. He shot the handle off and they stumbled inside. Some kind of storage room filled with oil cans and spare parts. "This is a death trap," Ghost said, breathing hard. "One way in, no way out." "Then we make our stand here." Reaper set Zara down gently and checked Ghost's ammunition. "How many rounds you got?" "Maybe 20 between the shotgun and my pistol."
"Against 12 men."
"Yeah."
Keisha spoke up, her voice shaky but determined. "There's a phone in here. Old landline. I can call 911. "You call the cops. Half of them are on Cruz's payroll," Reaper said. "They'll tell him exactly where we are." "Then who do we call?" Reaper pulled out the business card Ghost had shown him earlier. FBI, Special Agent Sarah Chen. He dialed the number. It rang once. Twice. 3 times. "This is Chen. Agent Chen. My name is Marcus Stone. You don't know me, but I've got information on the Viper Syndicate. Information that could take down their entire Detroit operation. Interested?" "I'm listening." "I'm currently pinned down in a gas station storage room on Woodward Avenue with a witness to a police execution, her 7-year-old daughter, and about 12 cartel soldiers who want to kill all of us.
"So here's the deal. You get here in the next 10 minutes with federal backup. I give you evidence that'll put away everyone, from street dealers to dirty cops to the regional cartel commander. Deal?" There was a pause. Then, "What kind of evidence?" "Photographs of Detective Raymond Hayes' execution. Financial records showing payments to corrupt officers. A hit list with 15 names, 12 already dead. And a living witness who saw the whole thing." Another pause. Longer this time. "Where exactly on Woodward?" "Corner of Woodward and Alexandrine. Shell gas station. We're in the back storage room. And Agent Chen, you might want to hurry. They're about to breach." 10 minutes. Don't die before I get there." She hung up.
Zara tugged at Reaper's sleeve. Is the FBI lady going to help us? I hope so, sweetheart. And if she doesn't come in time? Reaper checked Ghost's shotgun. Then we fight. Something heavy slammed against the steel door. Once. Twice. They were using a battering ram. Keisha pulled Zara close. Baby, I need you to hide. Behind those oil drums. And no matter what you hear, you don't come out until Mama or Mr. Reaper says it's safe. Understand? I don't want to hide. I want to stay with you. I know. But Mama needs you to be brave one more time. Can you do that? Zara's bottom lip trembled, but she nodded. Keisha walked her to the back corner and tucked her behind a stack of oil drums. The door shuddered again. The battering ram was making progress. Metal groaned. Ghost took position to the left of the door. Reaper took the right. When that door came down, they'd have maybe 3 seconds of surprise before superior numbers overwhelmed them. Ghost? Reaper said quietly. Yeah, boss. It's been an honor. Likewise. The door exploded inward. 2 Vipers rushed through, weapons raised. Ghost's shotgun roared, dropping the first man. Reaper fired Ghost's pistol, hitting the second man in the shoulder. But more were coming. 4 more poured through the door, then 6. The storage room erupted into chaos. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness. The stench of gunpowder filled the air. Ghost went down with a bullet to the leg. Reaper felt something punch into his side, hot and sharp. He kept firing. 1 Viper fell, then another. But there were too many. A figure appeared in the doorway. Mateo Cruz, gold teeth gleaming. Enough! His voice cut through the gunfire. Stop shooting! I want them alive! The firing stopped. Reaper tried to raise his weapon, but his hand wouldn't cooperate. He looked down and saw blood. His blood, pooling on the floor. How many times had he been shot? 2? 3? Cruz walked into the storage room, stepping over bodies. His men flanked him, weapons trained on the survivors. Senor Stone, you've cost me a great deal tonight. Men, resources, reputation. And for what? 1 nurse and her brat of a child? Cruz shook his head. Disappointing. Go to hell. Eventually. But you first. Cruz raised his pistol, aiming at Reaper's head. That's when Zara stepped out from behind the oil drums. No! Keisha screamed. Zara, get back! But Zara walked straight toward Cruz, her small hands clenched into fists. Don't hurt him, she said, her voice steady, despite the tears streaming down her face. You want me, right? That's what this is all about? So here I am. Let them go, and you can have me. Cruz lowered his weapon slightly, surprised. Well, the little mouse has teeth after all. I'm not a mouse. I'm a girl whose mama taught her to be brave. And I'm brave enough to trade myself for them. Zara, no! Reaper tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't hold him. Don't you dare! It's okay, Mr. Reaper. Zara looked at him with eyes that had seen too much, understood too much. You kept your promise. You saved my mama. Now I gotta keep mine. What promise? I promised I'd be brave. She turned back to Cruz. So? Do we have a deal? Cruz studied her for a long moment. Then he laughed. You know what? I like you, little girl. You've got more courage than most of my men. It's almost a shame I have to kill you. He raised his pistol again, this time aiming at Zara. Reaper lunged forward, his body moving on instinct. He didn't think about his injuries or the impossibility of reaching her in time. He just moved. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space, but it didn't come from Cruz's weapon. Cruz stumbled backward, a red stain spreading across his expensive suit. His gold teeth flashed in confusion as he looked down at the wound in his chest. Behind him, in the doorway, stood FBI Special Agent Sarah Chen. Her weapon was still raised, still smoking.
FBI! Everyone on the ground! Now! Tactical agents poured through the door, weapons drawn, shouting commands. The Vipers dropped their guns and hit the floor. Cruz tried to run, but his legs folded under him. Agent Chen walked past the surrendering cartel members and knelt beside Reaper.
Marcus Stone?
That's me.
You look like hell.
Feel worse.
EMTs are 2 minutes out. Think you can hold on that long?
Reaper looked past her to where Zara was wrapped in her mother's arms, both of them crying, but safe. Alive.
Yeah, he said. I think I can manage.
Then everything went black. Reaper woke to the sound of machines beeping and the smell of antiseptic. His eyes fought to open, lids heavy as lead. When they finally did, harsh fluorescent lights stabbed into his skull.
Easy,
a woman's voice, familiar but not quite placeable.
You've been out for 18 hours. Don't try to move too fast.
His vision cleared enough to see Agent Sarah Chen sitting in the chair beside his hospital bed.
She looked tired, her suit rumpled, dark circles under her eyes.
Zara, he croaked.
Where's... Safe. She's with her mother in the next room, both under federal protection. Chen leaned forward. You want the good news or the bad news? How bad is the bad? You were shot 3 times, took shrapnel from the bridge explosion. Lost enough blood that the doctors weren't sure you'd make it. You've got a collapsed lung, a fractured rib, and your shoulder is held together with more metal than bone at this point. Reaper processed this. And the good news? You're alive. Keisha Williams is alive. Zara is alive. And Mateo Cruz died on the operating table 2 hours ago. The news hit Reaper like a physical blow. Cruz was dead. The man with the gold teeth who terrorized a 7-year-old girl would never hurt anyone again. Ghost? Reaper asked. Snake?
Ghost took a bullet to the leg, but he'll recover. Snake's in surgery now for that compound fracture. Doctors say he'll walk again, but it'll take months of physical therapy. Chen paused. I'm sorry about your friend, Bulldog. He didn't make it. Reaper closed his eyes. He'd known, of course, had felt Bulldog's last breath, but hearing it confirmed made it real in a way he wasn't prepared for. There's something else. Chen's voice carried a weight that made Reaper open his eyes again. When Cruz died, his phone was still on him. We accessed it. Marcus, he had files on everyone. Your entire club. Addresses, family members, daily routines. He'd been planning a systematic elimination of the Hells Angels. You weren't just saving Zara and her mother. You stopped a massacre. How many were on his list? 23 names. Every member of your club. Plus Raven and a few other associates. Chen pulled out her tablet and showed him photographs. These are the weapons we recovered from the warehouse. Military grade. Enough firepower to wipe out a small town. And we found something else. She swiped to a new image. It showed a detailed map of Detroit with locations marked in red. Cruz wasn't just running drugs. He was building an empire. In 6 months, he would have controlled every major distribution point in Michigan. In a year, he'd have expanded to Ohio and Illinois. You didn't just save a family, Marcus. You stopped a cancer from spreading. I didn't do it for that. I did it for a kid who knocked on my door. I know, but the results are the same. Chen stood up. Which brings me to why I'm really here. The Bureau wants to offer you a deal. Reaper's jaw tightened. Not interested. You haven't heard it yet. Don't need to. I know how these things work. You want me to flip on my brothers. Give you information on Hells Angels operations in exchange for immunity. The answer is no. That's not what I'm offering. Chen crossed her arms.
The evidence you provided, the photographs, the financial records, Keisha's testimony, we've already arrested 12 Detroit police officers. 4 of them were senior ranking. We've frozen $17 million in cartel assets, and we've identified 32 Viper operatives across 5 states.
This is the biggest blow to cartel operations in the Midwest in a decade. So what do you want? Nothing. You've already given us everything we need. Chen's expression softened. But I can give you something. Full immunity for you and your club for everything that happened during this operation. The shootout at your clubhouse, the bridge explosion, the gas station firefight, all of it gets classified as self-defense and cooperation with federal authorities. There's always a catch.
The catch is you have to testify in open court about what Cruz did to Zara and her mother, about the hit list, about the systematic corruption in Detroit PD. Chen met his eyes. I know that's not your style. I know bikers don't trust the system. But this is bigger than club politics. This is about making sure what happened to Zara never happens to another child. Before Reaper could respond, the door burst open. Zara stood there in hospital pajamas that were 3 sizes too big, her hair pulled back in 2 ponytails. Keisha was right behind her, trying to catch her daughter.
Baby, you can't just run off.
But Zara was already at Reaper's bedside, her small hand finding his.
You're awake. Mama said you might not wake up for days, but I knew you would, because you promised, and you always keep your promises.
Reaper felt something in his chest tighten. This child's absolute faith in him was both a blessing and a burden he wasn't sure he deserved. Hey, sweetheart, how you doing?
I'm okay. Mama's okay too. The FBI lady says we get to have new names and live somewhere safe where the bad men can't find us ever again.
Zara's expression grew serious.
But I don't want new names. I like being Zara Williams, and I don't want to live somewhere where I can't see you.
Keisha approached the bed, her eyes red from crying.
Mr. Stone, Marcus, I don't even know how to thank you. You saved my life. You saved my daughter. You risked everything for 2 people you didn't even know.
Your daughter knocked on my door. That was enough.
Was it?
Keisha's voice carried a weight of understanding.
Or was it because you saw yourself in her? A child who needed help and didn't get it.
The observation was too accurate. Reaper looked away. Agent Chen told me about your mother, Keisha continued softly.
About what happened when you were 8. I'm so sorry.
Ancient history.
Is it? Because the way you fought for Zara, that wasn't just about protecting a witness. That was personal.
Zara tugged at his hand.
Mr. Reaper, did your mama get hurt by bad men too?
He looked down at this 7-year-old girl with eyes that had seen too much. She deserved honesty, not platitudes. Yeah, sweetheart. My mama got hurt real bad, and I couldn't help her. I was too small, too scared.
I hid in a closet and did nothing while she died. But you helped us. You didn't hide this time.
No, I didn't hide this time. Then maybe your mama would be proud of you. Because I'm proud of you. And I don't even know what proud means exactly. But Mama says it's when someone does something so brave and good that it makes your heart feel too big for your chest. And that's how I feel about you. Reaper felt his eyes burning. He hadn't cried in 29 years. Not since the day they'd buried his mother. But this child's words were breaking through walls he'd spent decades building.
Zara, baby, we should let Mr. Stone rest, Keisha said gently. But I didn't give him his present yet.
Zara pulled a folded piece of paper from her pajama pocket.
I drew you another picture, since you kept your promise.
She unfolded it carefully. The drawing showed 2 figures, a large one and a small one, holding hands.
Behind them was a woman who looked like Keisha.
Above them was the sun, drawn with bright yellow crayon. And at the bottom,
in careful printing, "My hero." Reaper took the drawing with shaking hands. "This is the best present anyone's ever given me." "Really? Better than a motorcycle?" "Way better than a motorcycle." Zara beamed. Then her expression turned serious again. "Mr. Reaper, when Mama and me go to our new place with our new names, will you forget about us?" "Never. I couldn't forget you if I tried." "Good, because I'm going to remember you forever and ever. Even when I'm a grown-up lady with my own kids, I'm going to tell them about the scary biker man who saved me and my mama." Agent Chen cleared her throat. "Zara, your mother and I need to talk to Marcus about some grown-up things. Why don't you go back to your room and watch cartoons for a little bit?" "But I don't like being away from Mama. Not after everything." Keisha knelt down and hugged her daughter. "I'll be right next door. I promise I won't leave your sight for more than 10 minutes, okay?" Zara looked uncertain, but finally nodded. As she left, she waved to Reaper with the unself-conscious enthusiasm of childhood. When the door closed, Keisha turned back to Reaper. "She has nightmares every night. Wakes up screaming that the gold teeth man is coming for her. The therapist says it'll take years of counseling to undo the damage." "But she will heal," Chen added. "We've seen it before. Children are resilient." "That's what they told me," Reaper said quietly, "after my mother died. Children are resilient. But resilient doesn't mean undamaged. It just means you learn to live with the scars." Keisha sat down in the chair Chen had vacated. "The FBI wants us to enter witness protection. New identities, new city, new everything. They say it's the only way to be truly safe from cartel retaliation." "It probably is, but Zara keeps asking about you, about whether she'll ever see you again. And honestly, I'm asking the same question." Keisha's voice cracked. "You gave us our lives back. You can't just disappear now. Witness protection means no contact with your old life. That includes me. I know what it means. But my daughter has latched on to you in a way she hasn't with anyone since her father died 3 years ago. You're not just the man who saved us. You're her hero, her protector, the person she feels safe with." Keisha wiped at her eyes. "Is there any way at all, that you could be part of our new life?" Agent Chen spoke up. "There might be. If Marcus agrees to testify and cooperates fully with our investigation, we could make arrangements for supervised contact. Not often, and with heavy security protocols, but possible." "What kind of testimony are we talking about?" Reaper asked. "Grand jury proceedings against the remaining Viper operative. Trial testimony against the corrupt cops. Maybe 3 to 4 court appearances over the next 6 months." Chen pulled out a file folder. "In exchange, full immunity for you and your club. Witness protection for Keisha and Zara, with allowances for limited contact with you. And a clean slate." "A clean slate." Reaper almost laughed. "I've been a criminal my entire adult life. There's no such thing as a clean slate for people like me." "Maybe not. But there's such a thing as redemption, and I think you've earned it." Chen placed the folder on his bedside table. "Think about it. Take your time. Well, not too much time. I need an answer by tomorrow." She left, leaving Reaper alone with Keisha. "You don't have to do this," Keisha said. "You don't owe us anything more than you've already given." "It's not about owing. It's about—" Reaper struggled to find the words. "Your daughter makes me want to be better than I am. Makes me think maybe I can be the man my mother would have wanted me to become. And I don't know if I can walk away from that." "Then don't. Testify. Be part of our lives. Let Zara have her hero." "I'm nobody's hero." "You're wrong. You're hers. And whether you like it or not, you're mine too." Keisha reached over and squeezed his hand. "We're family now, Marcus. The kind you choose, not the kind you're born into. And family doesn't abandon each other." Before Reaper could respond, His hospital room door opened again. This time it was Hammer, Ghost limping beside him on crutches, and Raven bringing up the rear. "Well, well," Hammer said with a grin. "Sleeping Beauty finally wakes up." "How's Snake?" Reaper asked immediately. "Out of surgery. Doctors say he'll be in a wheelchair for a while, but he'll walk again." Hammer's grin faded. "We gave Bulldog a proper send-off. Small service, just the club. Buried him with full honors."
I should have been there. You were too busy bleeding out in ICU.
Bulldog would have understood. Ghost lowered himself into a chair, wincing as his injured leg shifted. "We got bigger problems anyway." "What kind of problems?" "The kind where half the motorcycle clubs in the Midwest want to know what the hell happened. Word spread about our war with the Vipers, about how we took on a cartel, and won." Ghost pulled out his phone and showed Reaper a text thread. "Tommy Steele from the Iron Wolves wants to meet. So does Phoenix from the Wildcards. And Diesel from the Desert Scorpions. They're calling it the Detroit Miracle, a biker club taking down organized crime. It wasn't a miracle. It was desperation and luck. Maybe, but the legend's already spreading, and legends bring their own problems." Hammer crossed his arms. "We got prospects showing up at what's left of our clubhouse wanting to join. We got smaller clubs wanting to ally with us. Hell, we even got a movie producer calling about rights to the story. Tell them all no." "Already did. But boss, we need to talk about rebuilding. The clubhouse is gone. Our arsenal is gone. Half our bikes got destroyed in the fight. We're operating out of an auto shop right now." Raven spoke up for the first time. "The community's been asking about you, Marcus. About all of you. People want to help. There's a GoFundMe that's raised almost $70,000 for rebuilding the clubhouse. We don't take charity. It's not charity. It's gratitude. You saved a neighborhood kid. You took down the drug dealers who'd been terrorizing the community for months. You're heroes, whether you like it or not." "I didn't do it to be a hero." "That's what makes you one," Keisha said softly. A knock at the door interrupted them. A nurse poked her head in. "I'm sorry, but visiting hours are almost over, and Mr. Stone needs his rest." As everyone prepared to leave, Zara appeared in the doorway again, her mother's phone in her hands. "Mr. Reaper, Mama let me take a picture of you for when we go to our new place and I miss you. Is that okay?" "Yes, sweetheart, that's okay." She held up the phone and snapped a photo, her face serious with concentration. Then she ran to his bedside one more time and kissed his cheek. "Thank you for being my hero. Even though you say you're not one, I know you are. And when I grow up, I'm going to be just like you. I'm going to help people who are scared and protect kids from bad men." "You do that, Zara. You be better than me. Be the person I should have been." As they all filed out, Reaper was left alone with his thoughts and the drawing Zara had made. He stared at the crayon figures holding hands, at the words, "My hero," printed in a child's careful handwriting. His phone buzzed. A text from Agent Chen. "Decision time tomorrow. Choose wisely. What you do next defines who you become." Reaper thought about his mother, Angela Stone, who died because no one had been brave enough to stop the violence. He thought about Bulldog, who'd given his life protecting people he barely knew. He thought about Zara, a 7-year-old girl who still believed in heroes despite everything she'd endured. And he thought about the choice in front of him. Keep running from his past, or finally face it. Keep being the criminal his circumstances had made him, or become the man his mother had hoped he'd be. The decision, when it came, was easier than he expected. He picked up his phone and called Agent Chen. "It's Marcus. I'll testify. All of it. Grand jury, trials, whatever you need. But I've got conditions." "I'm listening." "Zara and Keisha get to stay in Detroit. New identities, yes. Federal protection, yes. But they don't get shipped off to some random city where they know nobody. This is their home. You make it safe for them to stay." That's a tall order. Then make it happen, because I'm not testifying unless Zara can grow up in the city where her mother works, where her friends are, where she feels safe. You've got enough Viper arrests to justify maintaining a protective presence here. There was a pause. I'll see what I can do. What else? The Hells Angels get immunity for everything, not just the recent stuff. I want a clean slate for my entire club. Past crimes, current investigations, all of it. Marcus, I can't just— Yes, you can. You said this was the biggest blow to cartel operations in a decade. That's worth something. That's worth protecting the people who made it happen. Another pause. Longer this time. I'll have to run this up the chain. But off the record, I think I can make it work. The Bureau's more interested in taking down cartels than prosecuting biker clubs. Anything else? Yeah, I want to be able to see Zara. Not just supervised visits. I want to be part of her life. Birthdays, school events, the normal stuff. She's been through hell, and she needs stability. She needs people she trusts. That's highly irregular. So is a 7-year-old girl taking on a cartel enforcer. Irregular seems to be our specialty. Chen actually laughed. You're not wrong. Okay, Marcus. I'll make it happen. All of it. In exchange for your full cooperation. Deal? Deal. After he hung up, Reaper lay back against his pillows and stared at the ceiling. His body was broken. His club was scattered. His best friend was dead. But somehow, impossibly, he felt more whole than he had in decades. Because a little girl with cornrows and a torn purple jacket had knocked on his door and given him something he thought he'd lost forever. A reason to be better. A reason to fight for something that mattered. A reason to believe that maybe, just maybe, redemption was possible after all. The machines beeped their steady rhythm. Outside his window, Detroit kept breathing, kept living, kept moving forward. And somewhere in this hospital, a mother and daughter slept peacefully for the first time in weeks, knowing they were finally, truly safe. Reaper closed his eyes and let himself rest. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, testimony to prepare, a club to rebuild, a life to reconstruct from the ashes of violence. But tonight, he'd done enough. Tonight, he'd kept his promise. And sometimes, that was all a man could do. 6 weeks later, Reaper stood in front of a federal courthouse in downtown Detroit, his shoulders still stiff under the suit jacket Agent Chen had insisted he wear. The building loomed above him, all concrete and glass, and the weight of justice that had failed him his entire life. "You ready for this?" Ghost asked from beside him. His friend had ditched the crutches 2 weeks ago, but still walked with a slight limp. "No, but I'm doing it anyway." Inside the grand jury room, 12 citizens sat in judgment. Reaper took his seat and raised his right hand. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" He thought about his mother, about Bulldog, about a 7-year-old girl who'd knocked on his door in the rain. "I do." For the next 4 hours, he told them everything. About Zara's arrival at the clubhouse, about the hospital bracelet that proved weeks of abuse, about Keisha's kidnapping and the hit list with 12 names already crossed off, about Detective Hayes' execution and the photographs that proved police corruption went deeper than anyone had imagined. The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed woman named Janet Morrison, no relation, asked the hardest question near the end. "Mr. Stone, you've admitted to multiple felonies during this testimony: breaking and entering, assault, destruction of property, engaging in firefights with law enforcement officers. Why should this jury believe you're telling the truth and not just trying to justify criminal behavior?" Reaper met her eyes. "Because I've got nothing to gain by lying. Your office already promised me immunity. I could have kept my mouth shut and walked away clean. But I'm here because a 7-year-old girl deserves justice. Because her mother deserves to feel safe. Because 12 other families deserve to know why their loved ones died. I'm not asking you to forgive what I've done.
I'm asking you to use what I know to stop it from happening to someone else.
The grand jury deliberated for 2 hours. When they returned, the foreman read the indictments. 23 counts against remaining Viper operatives. 18 counts against corrupt Detroit police officers. RICO charges that could put people away for life. Agent Chen met Reaper in the hallway afterward. You did good in there. Better than most professional witnesses.
It's easier to tell the truth when you've got nothing left to lose.
You sure about that? Because from where I'm standing, you've got quite a bit to lose now. Chen handed him an envelope. Keisha and Zara's new address. They moved into the safe house yesterday. Zara asked me to give you this. Inside was another drawing. This one showed a courthouse with a stick figure standing in front of it. Above the figure, in careful printing, "My hero told the truth."
She watched the news coverage, Chen explained. Saw you going into the courthouse. Asked her mother what you were doing.
Keisha told her you were making sure the bad men could never hurt anyone again. And what did Zara say? She said, "I knew he would. Heroes always keep their promises." Chen smiled. Kid's got you figured out. She sees a better version of me than actually exists. Maybe.
Or maybe she sees who you could be if you stopped punishing yourself for things that weren't your fault.
Chen's expression turned serious. The address in that envelope comes with conditions. You show up unannounced, federal marshals will arrest you. You bring anyone with you, same thing. You want to see them, you call me first. We arrange supervised visits until we're sure there's no remaining cartel threat. Understood? Understood. Good. Because Zara's birthday is next week.
She's turning 8, and she specifically requested that you be there.
The week crawled by. Reaper spent it helping rebuild the Hells Angels clubhouse. The community donations had kept coming. 70,000 had turned into 120. Local contractors volunteered their time. The new building rose from the ashes of the old, stronger and safer. On the day before Zara's birthday, Snake rolled up in a wheelchair, his leg still in a cast. "Boss, we need to talk." They went to what would become Reaper's new office once construction finished. Snake positioned his wheelchair and looked uncomfortable. "I'm stepping down as VP." "Like hell you are." "Marcus, I can't do the job from a wheelchair. The club needs someone who can ride, who can fight, who can... The club needs someone I trust. Someone who's got my back. Someone who bled for this family." Reaper leaned against the wall. "You think I care if you can walk? You've got the best tactical mind in the club. You kept your head during the clubhouse attack. You dragged Bulldog's body to cover, even with a broken leg. That's the kind of VP I need." The other brothers might not see it that way. Then they can take it up with me. You're my VP, Snake. Wheelchair or no wheelchair. That's not changing. Snake's eyes got suspiciously wet. Bulldog would have given me so much shit for crying right now.
Yeah, he would have. Reaper felt his own throat tighten.
He'd have also told you to man up and accept the job, because watching you turn it down would be embarrassing for everyone involved. They sat in silence for a moment, both thinking about the brother they'd lost. "I went to see his sister," Snake said finally. "Gave her his cut, his rings, the money from his locker. She asked me how he died. I told her he died protecting a kid, protecting innocence."
She said that sounded like something he'd do.
It was. She also said he'd want us to keep fighting, keep protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. Said he always believed bikers should be more than criminals, should be guardians of the community. He was right. So what's the plan? We just going to become some kind of outlaw social workers? Something like that. Reaper pulled out a folder Agent Chen had given him. FBI's running a pilot program. Motorcycle clubs working with law enforcement to combat organized crime. We'd maintain our independence, our identity, but we'd have official channels for reporting threats, protecting witnesses, intervening in situations where regular cops can't or won't. And you're considering this? I'm considering a lot of things. Like maybe Bulldog was onto something. Maybe we can be more than what we've been. Reaper met Snake's eyes. But I need to know my brothers are with me. This is a major change. Some of the club might not want it. Then we put it to a vote. Democratic process, like it's supposed to be. Snake wheeled closer. But Marcus, I think most of the brothers are already there. We saw what happened with Zara. We saw what we were capable of when we fought for something that mattered. Hard to go back to petty crime after saving a kid's life. The next day, Reaper drove to Zara's birthday party with Raven in the passenger seat. Agent Chen had arranged for it to be held at a park with discreet federal protection. Plainclothes marshals positioned around the perimeter, surveillance covering all approaches. When they arrived, Zara was playing on the swings with 3 other children. She looked different, healthier, happier, her hair braided with colorful beads. When she saw Reaper, she jumped off the swing mid-arc and ran to him.
You came! Mama said you might be too busy, but I knew you'd come because you promised.
She crashed into him with the full-body hug children give when they haven't learned to be reserved yet. Reaper picked her up, ignoring the protest from his still healing shoulder. Happy birthday, sweetheart. You're 8 now. Practically a grown-up. I'm not a grown-up yet, but Mama says I'm more mature for my age. That means I act older because I've seen things kids shouldn't see. But Dr. Patterson says that's okay because I'm processing my trauma in healthy ways. You're seeing Dr. Patterson again? 3 times a week. She still has Biscuit, the therapy dog. I drew him a picture for his birthday, too, even though Mama says dogs don't really understand birthdays. Zara wiggled to be put down. Come see my cake. It's got 8 whole candles, and Mama made it herself without burning it this time. She dragged him to a picnic table where Keisha was setting out plates. When Keisha saw him, her smile was genuine and warm. Marcus, thank you for coming. It means the world to her. Wouldn't miss it. There's someone here I want you to meet. Keisha gestured to a man standing nearby. African American, maybe 35, wearing a Detroit PD uniform. This is Officer David Chen, Sarah's cousin. He's been assigned to our protective detail. David extended his hand. Marcus Stone, I've heard a lot about you. Good things, I hope. Complicated things, which in my book is usually better than simple. David had a firm handshake and direct eyes. Sarah told me what you did, what you risked. I wanted to shake the hand of a man who'd go to war for a child he didn't know. Just did what needed doing. That's what heroes always say. David smiled. For what it's worth, not all Detroit cops are on cartel payrolls. Some of us are still trying to do the job right. And what you helped expose, the corruption, the murders, you made it possible for guys like me to actually clean up this city. Before Reaper could respond, Zara was back, pulling on his sleeve. Mr. Reaper, I have a present for you. I know it's supposed to be my birthday, but Mama says giving presents makes you feel as good as getting them. So I made you something. She handed him a package wrapped in newspaper comics. Inside was a photograph in a handmade frame decorated with glued-on macaroni and glitter. The photo showed Zara and Reaper from that first night. He was holding her in the clubhouse, both of them soaked from rain, both looking exhausted, but safe. Mama took this with her phone before the bad men took it. The FBI people got it back and printed the picture for me. See? That's when you first promised to help us. That's when you became my hero." Reaper stared at the photo. He looked terrible in it, soaked, bleeding, half dead on his feet. But Zara looked safe. And sometimes that was all that mattered. "This is the best present I've ever gotten," he said, his voice rough. "Better than the drawing?" "Just as good, but different." Other kids called for Zara to come play. She ran off, her laughter carrying across the park. Keisha moved to stand beside Reaper. She has nightmares still. Wakes up screaming about gold teeth and men with snake tattoos. But they're getting less frequent. Last week she slept through 3 whole nights. Keisha watched her daughter play. Dr. Patterson says the nightmares might never fully stop. But Zara's learning to cope. Learning that bad things happened, but they're over now. And you? How are you coping? Some days are better than others. I went back to work at the hospital last week. Different shift, different department, but it felt good to be doing something normal again. Keisha's voice dropped. "David, Officer Chen, he's been helpful, patient. He understands that I'm not ready for anything beyond friendship, but he's made it clear he's willing to wait. He seems like a good guy." "He is. But Marcus, I need you to know, whatever happens with David or anyone else, you're always going to be family. You gave me back my life. You gave me back my daughter. That kind of debt doesn't get repaid. It gets honored." The party continued with cake and presents and games that made Zara laugh with the unself-conscious joy of childhood slowly being reclaimed. When it was time for Reaper to leave, Zara walked him to his bike. "Do you have to go?" "Yeah, sweetheart. I've got work to do. We're rebuilding the clubhouse." "When can I see you again?" "Soon. Agent Chen is setting up regular visits, maybe every 2 weeks to start." "That's not enough. I want to see you every day." "I know, but this is how it has to be for now, to keep you safe." Zara looked up at him with eyes that had seen too much, but still held hope. "Mr. Reaper, when I grow up, I want to be like you. I want to help people who are scared. I want to protect kids from bad men. Will you teach me how?" "You want to be a biker?" "No, I want to be a hero, like you." "I'm not a hero, Zara. I've done bad things, hurt people, broken laws." "But you changed. You chose to be better." "That's what Mama says heroes do. They choose to be better, even when it's hard." Zara grabbed his hand. "So will you teach me? Will you show me how to be brave and strong, and how to keep promises, even when they're scary?" Reaper knelt down to her level one more time. "I'll make you a deal. You focus on being a kid for now. Go to school, make friends, let Dr. Patterson help you heal. And when you're older, really older, like 16, if you still want to learn how to protect people, I'll teach you everything I know." "You promise?" "I promise. But Zara, I want you to be better than me. I want you to find ways to help people that don't involve violence and breaking laws. Can you do that?" "I can try." "That's all anyone can do." He hugged her one more time. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. Stay strong. Stay brave. And remember, you're the one who saved us, not the other way around. You knocked on our door and gave us a reason to be better. Don't ever forget that." 3 months later, Reaper stood at the grand opening of the new Hells Angels clubhouse. But it wasn't just a clubhouse anymore. The front half was a community center, after-school programs for kids, job training for ex-convicts, resources for domestic violence victims. The back half was still the traditional club space, bar, pool tables, meeting room, but the weapons were locked away. The illegal activities were done. The Hells Angels had voted unanimously to partner with Agent Chen's pilot program. They were still bikers, still outlaws in spirit, but now they channeled that rebellious energy into protecting the community instead of preying on it. Snake rolled up in his wheelchair, He'd refused the promotion to a motorized one, insisting he'd walk again even if it took years. "First call just came in," Snake said, holding up his phone. "Domestic violence situation on the east side. Woman too scared to call the cops because her husband's a police sergeant. She called us instead." "What's the play?" "Ghost is already on his way with Hammer and 2 others. They'll extract the woman and her kids, get them to a safe house, document the abuse. Then Chen's people take over for the legal side." "Good." Reaper looked around the new clubhouse. "This is working." "Yeah, Bulldog would have loved it. Probably would have made some joke about us going soft, but he'd have been proud." The front door opened. Agent Sarah Chen walked in with a teenage girl Reaper didn't recognize, maybe 15, wearing a Hell's Angels support t-shirt.
"Marcus, this is Jessica Chen, my niece. She's doing a school project on community activism and wanted to interview you." Jessica pulled out a recorder. "Mr. Stone, is it true you started all this because a little girl knocked on your door?" "That's true." "And now you help people full-time?" "We help people who fall through the cracks, people the system fails, people too scared to trust traditional law enforcement."
"Do you consider yourself a hero?" Reaper thought about that question. 6 months ago, he'd have laughed at it. But now, with Zara's drawings on his office wall and the knowledge that they'd saved 37 people in the last 3 months alone, the answer was more complicated. "No, I'm just a man trying to make up for lost time, trying to be the person I should have been all along." "But you've saved lives, changed lives. Doesn't that make you a hero?" "It makes me someone who finally learned that real strength isn't about violence or fear. It's about standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves. It's about keeping promises, even when they're hard. It's about—" The door burst open. A woman stumbled in, her face bruised, dragging a young boy by the hand.
"Please," she gasped. "Someone said you help people. My husband, he's coming. He's going to kill us this time. I know he is."
Reaper was moving before she finished speaking. "Snake, call Chen. Get federal marshals here now. Hammer, secure the perimeter. Ghost, get this woman and her son to the safe room." The Hell's Angels moved with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, the woman and child were protected, the building was locked down, and law enforcement was en route. The woman was crying, clutching her son.
Thank you. I didn't know where else to go."
"You came to the right place," Reaper assured her. "Nobody's going to hurt you or your boy, not while we're here." Jessica Chen watched all of this with wide eyes.
"That was incredible. How do you do this? How do you know exactly what to do?"
"Practice, and necessity, and remembering what it feels like to be helpless." Reaper turned back to her. "You want to know what heroism looks like? It's not dramatic rescues or shootouts. It's showing up. It's being the person someone can turn to when they've got nowhere else to go. It's making sure no one has to face their monsters alone." Sarah Chen smiled. I think he just answered her question. That evening, after the woman and her son were safely in federal protection and her abusive husband was in custody, Reaper sat alone in his new office. On the wall were Zara's drawings, all of them, framed and displayed. Evidence of a child's faith that had changed everything. His phone buzzed, a text from Keisha. "Zara had her first nightmare-free week. Dr. Patterson says she's making remarkable progress. She asks about you every day. Wanted me to tell you she's practicing being brave so she can help people like you do. Says when she grows up, she's going to start a foundation for kids who've been hurt by bad men. Already has a name for it. The Reaper Foundation. Hope you don't mind." Reaper smiled and typed back. "Tell her I'm honored. And tell her I'm proud of her." Another text came through, this one from Agent Chen. "Grand jury returned indictments on all remaining Viper operatives. 18 arrests made today across 4 states. Your testimony made this possible. Thank you." Snake rolled into the office. "Heading home for the night.
You good here?
Yeah, just thinking.
About?
About how one knocked on a door can change everything. About how the scariest thing I ever did was promise a 7-year-old girl I'd keep her safe.
And about how keeping that promise gave me back something I thought I'd lost forever.
What's that?
Purpose. Redemption. A reason to be more than what life tried to make me. Snake nodded slowly. Bulldog used to say we chose this life because the normal world didn't want us. But maybe we were wrong. Maybe the normal world needed us to choose to be better. Maybe. After Snake left, Reaper walked through the community center portion of the building. There were photos on the walls now. Families they'd helped, kids they'd protected, lives they'd changed. Each photo represented a promise kept, a person saved, a reason to keep fighting. He stopped in front of one particular photo. It showed Zara at her 8th birthday party, laughing with her friends, her mother watching with love and relief. A child reclaiming her childhood one day at a time. Underneath the photo, someone had placed a small plaque. It read, "It started with 3 knocks on a door. It started with a little girl's courage. It started with a promise kept." Reaper touched the plaque gently. 3 knocks on a door. That's all it had taken to change the trajectory of his entire life. To transform a criminal into a guardian. To prove that redemption wasn't just possible, it was necessary. His phone rang one more time. Unknown number. He answered carefully. "Mr. Reaper?" Zara's voice came through, bright and happy.
Mama let me call you because I wanted to say goodnight. And because I drew you another picture today, but I have to wait 2 whole weeks to give it to you. And that's too long, so I wanted to tell you about it instead. Tell me, sweetheart. It's a picture of you and me and Mama and all your biker friends standing in front of the new clubhouse. And there's kids playing and people smiling, and nobody's scared anymore. And at the bottom I wrote, "Heroes keep promises." Because that's what you are. A hero who keeps promises. I'm just a man who got lucky enough to have you knock on his door. No, you're a hero. Dr. Patterson says heroes are people who choose to be brave even when they're scared. And you were scared that night I came to your clubhouse, but you helped me anyway. That makes you a hero. If you say so. I do say so. And I'm always right about important things. Mama says so. Reaper laughed, the sound surprising him. Okay, Zara, you win. I'm a hero. Good, because I need you to be a hero for a long, long time. I need you to teach me how when I'm 16, remember? You promised. I remember, and I always keep my promises. I know. That's why you're my hero. After they said goodnight, Reaper sat in his office, surrounded by drawings and photographs and evidence of a life rebuilt from ashes. He thought about his mother, who'd never lived to see him become the man she'd hoped he'd be. He thought about Bulldog, who'd died protecting innocence. He thought about all the years he'd wasted running from his past, instead of confronting it. And he thought about a 7-year-old girl who'd stood in the rain and asked the scariest-looking man she could find for help. A girl who'd believed that beneath the leather and tattoos and scars, there was still something worth saving. She'd been right. Reaper stood and walked to the window. Outside, Detroit kept breathing, kept living, kept moving forward. And somewhere in this city, families slept safe because rough men had chosen to be guardians instead of predators. Because a motorcycle club had learned that real strength meant protecting the innocent, not preying on the weak. It had started with 3 knocks on a door, a desperate plea in the rain, a child's faith that scary men could be heroes. And it had ended with a promise kept, a life saved, and a community transformed. Reaper touched his father's dog tags, worn smooth by years of carrying. We did it, Dad. We found a way to make the violence mean something.
to turn pain into purpose. The metal was warm against his palm, a talisman, a reminder, a promise to keep fighting for those who couldn't fight for themselves. Because that's what heroes did. They showed up when called. They kept promises even when they were hard. They stood between the innocent and the darkness, refusing to let evil win.
And it had all started because one brave little girl knocked on the right door at exactly the right time. 3 knocks that changed everything. 3 knocks that proved redemption was always possible, even for men who thought they were beyond saving. 3 knocks that reminded Marcus Reaper Stone that the scariest thing a man can do isn't fight or kill or break laws. It's choose to be better than what life tried to make him, and then spend every day proving that choice was real.